Immediately we had to crawl first, we had to walk, and we can run. So I feel like running this race, honestly, I know I went off, but
Glory. Yeah, glory be to his name. I know you're going through some things and trials are coming. Welcome to So Sweet Sundays. I'm Sweets.
I'm Rosie.
I'm Cupcake.
Amish.
And we are coming to you with another episode from Monterey, California. And this episode is just something that I'm pondering around. If you know me, you know that I am a person with a gazillion questions. And if you ask me a question, I am going to have 8 questions for you before probably I answer the question. And usually if someone says, oh, well, what did she say when you ask her the question? If they say nothing or say I didn't ask a question, then they would be lying. Right. So I was just thinking, and the question I have is, why is it that we as the peoples do not take ownership or accountability for things that we do when we're wrong? And so I'm just wondering, like, why do we always, like, blame God when a lot of times it's us, or we do something wrong and we blame somebody else? And it just to be able to take it to the Bible and put ointment on it in some scripture, when God asked Adam, what he had done, he said, it's that woman you gave me. Right. He didn't take accountability nor ownership of what he had done. Because the order wasn't given to Eve, it was given to Adam. Right. And so it started from the very beginning of time. I'm like, it's the man. But it's all of us.
Yes.
So I want to kind of like pick you guys' brains and see how you feel about why do people do that. We're going to pop this thing off with the shuffling of Rosie.
I think that it's like, ooh, that's a loaded question. For me, I would say, well, I don't feel I have a problem with accountability at this point.
But seeing others,
I think that it just stems from the fact that it's easier to blame others than it is to blame yourself. It's easier to blame God because he's sovereign, and he's in control of everything. So that's the first thing people want to go to. Well, God let this happen, or God allowed this to happen. But when you stepped into your situation, you didn't even consult God in the first place. So you're asking God to bless your request, but you didn't even ask him for his access or his permission to proceed. So a lot of times people end up in situations because they move the way they want to move. And then you didn't even ask God if he endorsed this. And now you off in it and you're mad that everything's going awry. That's because God needs you to walk away from this.
You see the Lord looking down on me, how the sun beaming on me.
I was like,
look at his glory on my life.
So, I just think that's what it is. We do things the way we want to do them, that God never ordained, God never blessed, God never gave us the yes for. And then we get in it, and then God is like, I ain't tell you to go over there fooling with them people.
Right.
And then you're mad, like, well, why did this happen, and why did God never told you to go over there in the first place.
Yeah.
You never consulted him. So how are you mad that he's now in disagreement with your plan? He is the planner, not us. So.
And so why do you think people feel like they don't have to take ownership of it, or they do something, or even start messing with people or saying things or causing issues, and then when somebody clap back at them, they're like, oh, you're not saved, or oh, you this, or oh, you shouldn't have done that. Like, why is it that people don't like to take accountability?
Because they don't want to be responsible.
But why?
Because nobody wants to be at fault for the wrong at hand. As humans, we know right from wrong. Yeah. So it's like a lot of times we make the mistakes and we know it's a mistake. We fully know. Sometimes we get a warning and we still decide to proceed. So it's like, no, it's like, oh, so I made a mistake. But for everybody, like, as us, we could be like, oh, y'all, I made a mistake.
Right.
But everybody's not like that. Like, oh, I made a mistake. Like, it's a top secret. No.
Right.
You made a mistake. It's cool. Fix it. let's move on. A lot of people be so deep in their mistakes they don't want to fix it. As far as people clapping back and then get mad, it's like, oh, you're not saved, because it's like, I guess people assume when you're saved you can't have a quip back or whatever. But it's like, I'm saved, I'm not soft, and I for sure ain't stupid. Like, no, like, who said I was saved and a coward? Like, no, that ain't true. Like, Jesus wasn't soft, he was crucified. So why assume that I'm saved and I'm supposed to baby you and your mess and your foolishness? No, I'm not God.
Right.
Because even God gives us grace in our foolishness. But that ain't my job. That's above my pay grade. So, nah, we ain't got time. We're like, somebody said on Devo, that's beyond my scope of help. So, yeah, no. Nah, not me. Hey.
So what is your response when people do that? Have you been in that situation?
I mean, am I breathing? It happens all the time. I think now being a little more mature, I want to be righteous more than I want to be right.
Right.
So a lot of times my conversations are really, really like God led, like give me the words, give me the tone, give me the timing. So, I mean, yeah, it happens. And if I got a release, then just know I'm coming.
Right.
But if I don't have a release, a lot of times I'll just sit back, because you can say what you want to say, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because I know the facts, like I know what God told me, and if he said it, that settles it.
Yeah.
So it's like, we could argue, but I don't want to argue with you.
Right.
You mad. You big mad. And I don't want to transfer that mad spirit. So, you stay mad.
Then don't that lead to the spirit of offense, though?
Oh,
Don't you
yeah.
see that start like, let me hold your hand.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Or the
mad and offense just get covered up. They be cupcaking.
they be like, let's do this. Like, high five. And it's like, no, I don't. Offense
Cupcake,
is the
no
word.
feeling.
Right. I think that people
Inside.
yeah, they get mad and offended, and then even when you call out the offense,
Right.
it's like, no, nobody offended will ever, never in the history of being saved has an offended person said, I am offended. Saved or especially unsaved. Like, I think being saved, if you're aware, you can be like, am I offended?
Yeah.
But when people ain't saved, it's like, I ain't offended. Like, it's like you cuss them out, you cuss their mama or something. It's like, no, I just said you
Right.
offended. What's the problem? But offenses, that one's crazy.
Right. Right.
That one's crazy. So
Right.
it's like, it's like, it just depends. It depends on the situation. Because sometimes with offense, you can knock it down, on your end the best you can. Well, you could kill it in the conversation, but, sometimes it's like you got to kind of tread lightly. What kind of offended person is this? Are they offended and sensitive?
Yeah.
Are they offended and willing to fix it and willing to listen?
Yeah.
Are they offended and they just offended?
Yeah.
Because that's the hard one. It's like,
Right.
oh, okay. But I think, when you recognize that, it's like, oh, okay.
Or offended and aggressive.
Yeah. That's the
Like,
worst
you're really
one.
coming from my neck.
How you offended loud and wrong?
Right.
Them don't go together.
And
Like-
it's easy to say, I'm sorry.
Right.
It's like, and you never even want to say sorry.
Right. And
It's
for
like,
me,
just get it right and let's move on.
exactly. And for me, it's like, I will apologize so fast at this point in my journey, because it's like, I don't want to be disappointing to God.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, or even if I feel, if I feel convicted about something I did, I'll be like, you know what, hey, that's on me. I dropped the ball. Like, I'm quick to just take it, because everybody needs correction, whether we like it or not. But
Right.
sometimes correction is within.
Yeah.
That retrospective inspection, like, that was kind of mad, or that was kind of angry or aggressive. Maybe that was too much,
Yeah.
because everybody doesn't communicate the same. Everybody's communication style is not the same. They don't process, they don't receive the same.
Right.
So it's just important that, as you grow, you got to water others too.
Yeah.
You can't tear them down with, being sharp. I mean, because we all have like a sharp thing,
Yeah.
but it's always in love and kindness. It's always tactful,
Okay. So Cupcake, what's your piece on this? What's your take? What's your spin?
I definitely agree. It's easier for you to not take the accountability. It's easier for you to play the victim for most people.
Why?
I feel like, why am I putting the blame on myself? I feel like I'm already right. So what are you talking about?
But you know you're not right.
But again, when you have that mindset, it's like, no, nothing you are saying is coming into me that I can even register that what you're even talking about. So what I'm saying is right. So I feel disrespected. So that's right. And you're wrong. So I'm going to push forth and tell you that you're offended, you're upset, and I'm not taking accountability for what I did. Yeah, I hit your car, but you did this. So, and what does that have to do with anything else?
I want my money.
Right, exactly.
I want my money.
And they're like, what does that have to do with anything else? Like, what do you mean? But how I feel trumps everything.
So do you think sometimes people don't hear you when you're saying something and they're not taking accountability? Do they even hear?
Yeah. At this point, though, I don't feel like they are hearing, because all they're thinking about and hearing is what they're feeling. Nothing of how the next person is coming in. Like, I'm trying to explain to you, this is what's going on. So we can agree to disagree to come to a common ground.
Right.
But when people aren't taking accountability, there's no common ground. There's not even a true let's agree to disagree, because, again, you still feel how you feel. And whatever I'm saying, you're just going to stomp all over how somebody feels, or whatever the situation is at that point. It's just the idea that they have and they run with it, because it's not the truth. And overthinkers, and when you're offended, you make up a whole scenario in your head. You think it's real life, and it ain't.
Yeah.
So now you run in with this whole story, and then something happens, and you're like, what? That's not, people don't do that.
Yeah.
I know such and such, they don't do that. So why are you doing that? So you must not truly be saved.
So how do they really, but then can you really say that, oh, I really know, Sister Ketchup, because you might just know something of her, but you don't really know her.
But I think,
you know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So like, how do you really know that she wouldn't, be bold and take up for herself? Because the Bible says in Ecclesiastics, there's a time for everything. There's a season for everything. So when I'm clapping back at you, it's a season for that, boo.
Absolutely.
And I ain't trying to clap back at nobody, and ain't nobody got to be weird. I was just wondering, why is it such a situation where people are so offended? They think that, turn it on you. They don't take accountability for it. Everything is your fault. You never had any rhyme or reason or any fault at this at all. Like, everything is me. Marsha.
Right.
Like, there was two parts to this.
Absolutely.
There was two sides to this. There was two conversations. There was two dialogues in this.
Yeah.
I said this. You said that.
Right.
Now you're upset and offended, and all you can understand is what you're going through, and you never see anybody else. And now, for real, I didn't even say for real.
Right.
Like, now you didn't put me in the
Right.
pocket of hell, because I can't say nothing back. And that's like crazy that you would even say, like, oh, people just assume that you're always supposed to be quiet and never say anything. You bold when you come, and step in this arena. You got to be bold, because sometimes people want to put you in places and try to box you up and out, when that ain't even what it is. This ain't that, boo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Even
Right.
the Bible says go boldly to the throne. If
Yeah.
I can go boldly to the throne, what makes you think I can't come boldly to you?
Right,
Like, what?
right,
And I done made plenty of mistakes.
Right.
Coming boldly,
Facts.
like,
right.
I was wrong a lot.
But also though, the assumptions, like when you said you don't know like Sister Ketchup or something, a lot of people think of knowing about somebody is actually knowing them.
Yeah,
This is
I,
true.
I feel like
Yeah.
so it's like people forget there's a difference of actually knowing somebody
Yeah.
and knowing of somebody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I think people really run with that.
Yeah.
So that's where they be like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
She's a what? She does what? He does
Right.
huh?
Right.
What?
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Where?
questions.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Assume.
And that's again, now you're asking questions you have no business asking, because
Right.
that doesn't concern you.
Right.
Yeah. It
So
remind me of that when they would say, "You did with what?" With
With
who?
where? With who?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Questions.
Asking all them questions.
like, right.
Making
Exactly.
statements. Assuming.
Yeah.
Literally.
So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
And that's crazy. And like, I know so many times people think they know me,
Right.
and because you've seen me 3 times, carry covers or out of the building to help hospitality, that you know me. No, you
Right.
don't know me.
At all.
And on top of that, you never even had a conversation or an encounter with me. You just heard, oh, that's Sweets from so-and-so.
Right.
You don't know me just because you've seen me 3 times.
Exactly.
Like grandson say 5 times. I told you 5 times. I love it. Yeah, that's all true. Like, just thinking about it, like sitting throwing this thing around with you guys, like, yeah, like so many times people mistake save for soft.
Yeah.
They the unspoken expectation that I always talk to you
That's
about.
good.
You know, is that you have an expectation of me and you don't even know me.
Right.
And you don't even know what this lifestyle really takes. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, you won't even hold all your stuff.
Right.
You want me to hold accountability and hold up all your stuff. You won't even come to the table and hold up your part of the bargain.
Right.
You know, and it's like, what are you talking about? Like, come to me like with real stuff.
Yeah.
Then I'm willing to go ahead and we can throw this thing around. We can, you know, sit down and
Absolutely.
have some jargon about this stuff. But yeah, that is true that people really assume because you save you soft and that you can't say anything and you can't check somebody. You can still check somebody in love and kindness.
Absolutely.
You can be angry and sin not. You know,
Right.
but if you read your word, it's gonna give you all your bennies.
Right.
Absolutely.
It tells you what your bennies are. You know.
Absolutely.
That you have to resist the devil. And sometimes resisting him is like, no, you're going to roll up out my face. That's
Right.
what you're about to do. You know? Here's what we're not going to do.
Right.
Yeah. We ain't
Yes.
doing that today. Not today.
Absolutely.
Not on my block. Not on my behalf. Not in my face. Not
Right.
my way.
Not
You
my
know?
Yes.
Yeah. That's crazy. Anything else, Cupcake?
No, that's it, girl.
Reach.
Man, you said accountability. That's a big word. I think a lot of times people have like their own definition about things. Like, what is accountability? What is respect? What is loyalty? All these different things. And I feel like Rosie said, it's like pride is bacon wrapped in offense. Like, it's like they go hand in hand. It's like, oh, I'm mad. And it's like mad a lot of times. A lot of times, like, believers, at least for myself as more of a meek kind of personality, think like, ooh, maybe I'm operating in a spirit of offense, or if I'm upset, then I'm operating in anger spirit. And it's like, oh, then the people know all the spirits all of a sudden, and they telling you what you dealing with. Just because you're trying to let them know in love, hey, I don't want to be dealing with this imaginary thing with you, because then now I'm taking on offense with you about something that we can just squash and just continue in the love. Everything wants to get back to the love, back to the friendship, back to these things, but sometimes people don't have like an outlet like Cupcake was talking about with people who will actually hold them accountable around them. They'll just let them go out looking crazy with the outfit on.
Right.
And think that that's support, because it's like, you let me do what I want to do, how I want to do it. That's not always the best thing, because then it's like,
just
then
like
you're,
when you,
yeah,
I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
when you got a booger in your nose and people just let you walk around like that all day. Come on now.
If you do that, you out of line.
Yeah, please don't do that. If you see it,
Like,
let me
come
see
on
it too.
now.
If you see it, let me see it too.
You got
And
your skirt tucked in the back of your penny drawers and they just got your tunas all out.
well,
Can you tell me something?
please.
Toilet paper at the bottom of your feet. What it tells you.
Because I'm going to get upset or mad or offended if you tell me the truth. If you can tell me these little truths, or tell somebody else my truth or a truth about me because you know me, then why wouldn't you let me know? So it works the same way when it comes to things that may cause offense in our connection or things like that. We would have to feel safe enough and feel rooted enough in God to have that kind of freedom. And it's like a lot of people ain't operating in freedom because they in a whole bunch of bondage. So when you point out something about them, they think you see my bondage? You see me? And it's like, no, I just see something that I want to help you with. Like, so I can help you. Just because I'm a believer don't mean I don't still see. I just don't say everything I
You
see.
just walking around blind like Ray Charles.
Right. And then if I'm operating in something, please let me know, because like she said, I may not even know that I'm operating in it. As a person who has dealt with offense for a very long time because they didn't feel safe in a lot of spaces, then you don't want to deal with the offense. So you just go and isolate, and then you still deal with it, and it festers, and then you never have somewhere to go and put it somewhere.
Yeah.
With Jesus, you able to put it right there before his feet and say, look, like this person keep poking me and this stuff is coming out and now it's splashing me. And it's like, because that's what's in your cup.
Right.
You're angry.
Right.
Anger's in your cup and it's going to keep poking you and it's going to splash on you every time. As soon as you remove anger out your cup, then anytime somebody should come and try to poke you and get you angry, it ain't going to no longer be there because it ain't going to be in the cup.
Right.
So it's like, Lord, please let me empty myself of this stuff, but I'm not about to empty my whole self, like you said, and like Rosie said, and like Cupcake said, with you. I just want to bring it to your attention so that I can be able to release it in this moment. We can get back to the vibes that we was having.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we don't, as a person who has dealt with offense, I don't see it that way because it's like, oh my goodness, why didn't you tell me? So you're going to be offended by being offended that somebody may have offended. That sounds like
Not
a
the
mess.
triple offense.
Whoa. It's a triple offense because you're like, oh my God, I should have known. You just didn't know what you didn't know, girl.
Right.
And that's how I talk to myself in the mirror like Issa Rae
Right.
do.
Right.
And I'd be like, you just didn't know. Like, oh,
Right.
it's okay. Like, you're
Right.
okay. Like, you really need some people around you to be like, you're okay.
Right.
No. Why are you saying
Right.
sorry? What's the point of saying sorry for?
Right.
Sorry for being yourself. You were just being who you knew to be.
Right.
You're going to continue to evolve. We will be in relationship hopefully for the rest of our lives, but the same love that you're having with a person, whether it be a man or I'm speaking to the men, whether it be your lady, you met her, you dated her, and you knew of her, but then you get to know her.
Yeah.
And where you really know something or know a thing, it's so different than how it was in the beginning. A lot of people
Yeah.
ask, do you still love me the same? And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I love you even more today. No, but do you love me how you did back then when you did the flowers, chocolates, the dates? Yeah, I do. And I still continue to, but I love you even more today than yesterday because
Yeah.
I'm knowing you more.
Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
lot of times people hold on to offense and not be accountable because they don't really get to know a person.
Yeah.
They're already creating scenarios like
Yeah.
Cupcake talked about, or ways to get out of accountability so that they could feel safe. That's not really true safety. The only safety that's found
why
is
would
in
why would
Christ.
one feel safe with that?
Because they've created some kind of illusion of safety in that spirit of offense. There's some kind of routine or some type of way of coping that you come into for yourself, and then you able to get out of it and go on with your day. Get fake busy like we dealt with in the beginning of my walk. I'm fake busy. I'm helping people. I'm a good person, and it's like just because you made a mistake, so you made a mistake. Just because you made a mistake doesn't make you a bad person. Just because you
Exactly.
get on somebody's nerves don't mean that your whole identity is annoying.
Right.
I want to be annoying and anointed. I want my man
Yeah.
to love me, but I'm not always going to be anointed in the moment that I'm with him, and I'm not always going to be on point with everything, but the love is going to cover a multitude of sins. That's the word. So, and the times that I do make mistakes, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, baby. It's so
Right.
silly.
Right.
Dang. I'm
Right.
speaking in advance wherever you are in the
Right.
world. Like, oh my God, so sorry.
You need
Like,
a hug?
you need a hug? Yes,
Right.
I need a hug. People, that's such a relieving and safe place to be like, oh yeah, I need a hug. The pride has risen up for what? I love you. You care about me. I was tripping. Work was
Yeah.
crazy. If you just be honest, like,
Yeah.
it all goes back to honesty.
Yeah.
To answer your question, because I know you're going to go into the next part. Honesty with yourself. If you ain't going to be honest with yourself, you're going to have a very hard time being honest with somebody else. And offense loves you not being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
It loves you not being honest with God. Pride loves to root that offense deeper in the soil to make you really not loose yourself. If you holding on to little things and be like, well, remember back in 2008? Yeah, you are back in 2008 too, so who
Like,
are you?
Nah.
I want to be who I am today.
Right.
Lord, I want to be better than I was yesterday. And I want to be
Right.
good with God like we talked about last time. So I think ultimately with me releasing myself from the spirit of offense and moving out of pride, I know that holds hands and skips and walks, but ultimately if you really give all the things that unforgiveness has held on to that make you rock with those spirits and unaccountability, you're going to be so free. You're going to be able to, oh, girl, you got booger in your nose. Oh, my bad. Dang,
Yeah,
thank you.
exactly,
I appreciate you.
exactly.
Ooh, it's the
Right.
same as a booger in your nose. All the
Right.
little things that gets brought up in connections, just look at it really simple. Like, man, they just really care about me.
Yeah.
If you keep anchoring back to, oh, this person just really cares about me, or, ooh, they're getting to know me still.
Mm-hmm.
It's either they're getting to know me still, or they really care about me.
Yeah.
If they have built rapport with you, they have a relationship with you, they're going to cut it straight to you. It's
Yeah.
not going to be butterflies and rainbows all the time.
Yeah.
And you know how that is. Everybody has the other side.
Yeah.
The other side is called flesh.
Yeah.
And if you
Right.
don't die daily, you're
Right.
going to revert back like I talk about. So ultimately, it's just like accountability is what's up. Like you really build real vibes. You get to go on trips. You get to have new and fresh experiences, not only with other people, but with yourself.
Yeah.
People are always trying to reinvent themselves and always trying to do all these things. Do it internally first. Let that stuff go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how I feel about
So
it.
do you think people really even understand how to be honest with themselves?
No,
Why?
because they don't have a conversation with themselves. daily you're supposed to be kind of in a conversation with God, conversation with others, and a conversation with yourself, and in whatever order. You're doing that even if you don't want to. You're at some job. You are with you. God was with you even if you don't want to be with Him.
Right.
He's there, and yourself is with you everywhere you go. You're gonna take you everywhere you go.
Right.
So if you're not having that conversation, you're having an inner dialogue anyway, like Cupcake talked about.
Yeah.
When you're offended, you're creating illusions anyway. The enemy's coming to bring things to you, but you don't even need his help at some point. You just be like, yep, and they was thinking this, and they had to be doing this, and then the devil like, oh cool, I can go on the clock out,
Right.
because you got it. You're good, and it's like, no, I'm really not good, but I'm gonna act like I'm good though. Like, how you going? You good? Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
That's the main line that we tell ourselves, and then other people ask us, and we tell them.
And
So
they
I-
say it's so hard too. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good, and it's like,
You're all crazy.
you're not good.
Like, dang.
Just be good with God,
That
and you're gonna be good with
sound
others.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not trying to convince yourself is such a freeing thing. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of times when you don't want to take accountability, you're just trying to convince yourself of something, and you can just let all that, release all that from yourself, and just have a more ease of a life in a day. Even if you start with just an hour, a minute, a second of just like, you know what, I need to let that go.
Yeah.
Because you know when it feels like you telling a story and then it just still goes on, you're like, dang, that's still, it's like that feeling still there
Yeah,
with somebody.
yeah.
You like, dang, I don't want to feel uncomfortable, or why is I'm feeling like this now? We was just good 5 minutes
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Because that thing has still came up. You got to put that thing on the cross.
Yeah.
You got to plead the blood on that thing and be like, oh, the forgiveness that God has given me, I have to give it to me
Yeah.
and to them.
Yeah.
And just be free. So
and the
yeah.
thing about it too is then when you do that and you release yourself and you release others of the unspoken expectations, and you're free of that, and if you're wrong, you be godly sorry. And even
Yes.
if they are wrong and they still won't hold accountability, you just forgive them anyway, even though
Yes.
they haven't asked, and just move on.
Yes.
Just like when Jesus told the disciples, if they don't hear you, wipe the sand off your sandals and keep it moving.
Yes.
Keep it pushing. So that was the question of the day, because I always got questions, and so I just thought that would kind of be a great thing to spring that on them, because they were not aware today of the question, and usually I prepare them like a day, or they know sometime earlier in the week what we're going to talk about, to kind of jot it down and know what it is. So this was all fresh thoughts, dialogue. But thank you for being with us today on So Sweet Sundays. I'm Sweet,
Me?
and we out.
I'll be right back. Put triple digits in your bank account. Yeah, song like that. And I know you don't need it, but I owe you that. One of my love, I honor your love. I put that weight all on my back to keep lifting you up. Had to be God, I must admit this is more than just love. Anything you want, put it on my tab, gonna order it up. Because you took my right.